Hey everyone, I hope you're having an awesome JNUC 22. Welcome to Unleashing the Power of Apple TV in the Classroom. My name is Eric Henry from Carousel Digital Signage. I'm really excited to spend a few minutes with you today sharing a little bit about the power of Jamf plus Apple plus Carousel in the classroom. Today I wanted to start with a quote. The need for connection and community is primal, as fundamental as the need for air, water, and food. Over the last few years, we've seen this more than ever, the need for community and connection. And that happens so often in our schools. And so today I wanted to start with that quote because it's so easy at a technology conference to get wrapped up in the technology and all the awesome things that we can do with the latest and greatest. But I don't want us to miss the point of the emphasis on community and connection. And so that's really what I want to spend some time as we unleash this technology in the classroom. Can we foster community and connection to really support our students? We believe at Carousel that a key to successful learning is creating an environment where students feel safe, informed, and connected. Now it is more important than ever with all of the recent news and just kids transitioning back into the school environment and moving from distance learning and just not really sure where all the things are or what's all happening. And so today I want to spend a few moments talking about how we can really ease that transition and create environments where students will really thrive.
In 1997, I was working for a school district in their TV station, and my friend was working for an AV reseller as a trainer. Our job was to go out and train teachers how to update their video bulletin boards. Now, in the late 90s, video bulletin boards were those big, heavy tube TVs that were hung in the hallways of a school that showed the school messages. The issue we kept running into was that we routinely had to go retrain the teachers how to update the content. And we all know, without updated content, the messaging system is useless. One day it dawned on us. The problem with updating the content was not the users, but the tool. The software was made for a single multimedia designer to use and not a teacher. From that moment, we set off to create a collaborative tool that everyone in an organization could use, and Carousel was born. We quickly went back to the schools and sold them our new software, and the feedback from the teachers was amazing. The messages were always up to date. These principles that were important to us 20 years ago are still core to Carousel today, and I am proud of how we've evolved the Carousel product to meet the needs of the modern digital signage market while staying true to our founding lessons. I'm JJ Parker, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Carousel Digital Signage.
So we wanted to take just a minute to share a little bit of our founder story. So back in 1997, that is really where Carousel was born. And obviously a lot has changed over the last 25 years. And we're really excited about that evolution. And if we spend a moment even just reflecting on the other things that have changed in a classroom, the ability to collaborate today is far different than it was even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, back to 25 years ago. We were solving a different set of problems. But if you think back 100 years ago, we were writing on blackboards, and I wasn't personally writing on a blackboard, but some that came before us were writing on blackboards, and students saw the back of the teacher's head most often, and obviously the teacher would try to engage the classroom. And then we went to whiteboards, and then we went to these interactive whiteboards, but all again at the front of the classroom. And then we tried this flip classroom concept. There's just lots of different innovation in learning. And actually, what was interesting is the overhead projector became a really great tool because now the teacher could face the students and interact with them. And if you think about the progression to those interactive whiteboards, it actually moved the teacher again to facing the wall and away from the overhead projector, and again changed it and moved that dynamic back. Well, now we have an opportunity with the teacher having an iPad for instruction to again face the students. And with big flat panels on the wall, leveraging an Apple TV, an opportunity for collaboration during instruction, an opportunity for communication with students during passing times or arriving early. And so, really, we want to talk today about how we bring teachers and students together through collaboration and really make sure that the tech is not getting in the way in the classroom. And so, as I mentioned, you can picture this idea in the classroom of this Apple TV that you've already made an investment in, and an iPad where the instructor is, before class perhaps pointing out some of the announcements, so the early dismissal. One of the things I noticed with my kids was in first hour in high school, my son couldn't actually hear the overhead announcements. And so sometimes he would miss early dismissal or it's ACT or SAT testing day. And so he would miss that announcement and then I'd have to run pick him up from school or I'd drop him off at school and he wasn't even supposed to be there. And so just reinforcing all of those messages that you get on morning announcements or over loudspeakers and things visually in the classroom, a teacher can't even before class call attention to that screen, which is just a great example of, again, engaging students. And then, as I mentioned, just the ability with an iPad to change this collaborative environment where the teacher can interact with the students and also reinforce that messaging through Airplay on the screen in front of the classroom or wherever that screen might be. Some classrooms actually have several screens depending on learning huddles or different styles. And so it's just fun to think about how Apple TV in the classroom really unleashes the learning potential, which obviously there's many other great solution providers that Jamf and Apple work with that really unleash the power of Apple TV. And Carousel plays an important role in terms of delivering a lot of that content messaging to those screens to really increase the value of that already great investment that we've made in the classroom. I want to pause for a moment and shift gears. And we actually took the time to ask a few experts, what is the most important thing about school to you? Oliver, age 8, says, no one is bullying you and you're having fun. Abby, age 12, says, learning life skills and becoming a smarter, better person. That's a great quote. Micah, age 7, learning, having fun, and just being kids. And let's look at what Molly had to say, age 7. That's going to be hard. Probably going to be lunch? What a great answer. So if we look at these answers from kids, just asking kids, hey, what is great about school? What does that look like to you? What all their answers have in common is safety, a sense of purpose, and a sense of belonging. And so that's really what at Carousel we want to be part of. And that's why we love this relationship with Jamf and Apple, because collectively we can build safety, purpose, and belonging in the classroom. So, talking a little bit about creating a sense of safety, doing things like messaging around no bullying allowed, right? This idea of see something, say something, highlighting all of the opportunities within the school to utilize the systems that we have in place with organizations like Crisis Go or others, where you can actually report bullying incidents using a smartphone or a tablet and those opportunities, highlighting again and reminding kids that administration is there to help keep them safe, to keep them from bullying, and reinforcing that messages within the classroom is super important, because we can tell students over and over again, hey, here are the tools that we have for your safety, but it's hard to remember all of those tools all of the time. And so it's a great opportunity to reinforce for students, these are the counselors that are available for you. These are the tools that you have to report bullying or those types of things, and all of the other things that we can highlight again on a daily basis within our classrooms and our common areas. Mentioned creating a sense of purpose. It is really important for us to celebrate our student achievements. highlighting students of the month, putting things on the screen so that students, and this even speaks to diversity inclusions, because when students see other students that look like them being successful, we believe that that's motivating and that's inviting and encouraging, and it helps students dream and imagine that they also can achieve. And so we believe that it's really important to highlight student achievement, to do things like the wow awards, like, hey, students that are exhibiting the core values of our school are caught in the act of kindness, all of those types of things. That really does create a sense of community and a sense of celebration and a sense of purpose. And the more and more we see that throughout our schools, not just in a newsletter somewhere that's maybe buried in the stack of mail, but actually is right on the wall in every classroom and students are being celebrated, that has a big effect. Obviously, we have to be mindful of celebrating many students and not just a few, but it's so important and it really does change the climate within a school. And thinking about even celebrating graduates like this, making sure that the whole community is coming together and knowing about when the events are happening, and again reminding them in the classroom over and over again, come to graduation because this can be you someday as well. And so just reinforcing all of the great things that are going on in our community. But again, in the classroom, if you think about it, is the place where our students spend the most of their time. We love the common area signage. We think it's effective in some ways, but we also have a lot of kids who are trying to get from point A to point B in 5 minutes. And we get to this classroom and we set our books down and we catch our breath before class and we have a minute or two. And now we have this Apple TV in the front of the room that has the ability to now remind us of the things that are going on in school, celebrating people, and really creating a sense of belonging and purpose. And then also, again, back to reminding us of the things that are in place to help create a safe environment. And thirdly, creating a sense of belonging. What I wanted to do is actually, I love this story. My wife actually shared this with me in one of our local school districts. They created a program called the Joy Ambassadors because there was a young man who came up through our special needs program and just exudes joy. And over the last couple of years, if there's anything that we need, it was joy. And so this young man's job was to go around the district office and just be an encourager. And he was so gifted at it. And he brought life and light to every person that he interacted with throughout the school year. And it was sad for him to graduate because he just brought so much joy. And part of the opportunity there is to even think about, he was doing that in person, right? And there's also the opportunity this upcoming year for Joy Ambassadors to be on video. And so they can shoot morning announcements and tell jokes and just bring life and light to a school community. And there's a powerful opportunity actually to shoot video and then schedule it to play in all of the classrooms at a particular time of day. How cool is that? We've already got all the Apple TVs there. We have the power through Jamf to switch over to single app mode and play those videos in full screen alert mode, and play videos that really create a sense of belonging. With that, I kind of alluded to it in this last slide, the story of this morning announcements idea. But one of the critical things, the awesome, powerful things about this integration, and there really is nothing else like it that I'm aware of in existence. When you combine Jamf with Carousel with Apple TV, you have the power of Airplay Interrupt. The power of Airplay Interrupt is significant and is actually coming to Jamf School as part of JNUC 2022. We're very excited to make that announcement as well. But imagine a scenario where you're in the classroom, you're giving instruction to the front of that classroom with your iPad and you're sharing, or a student is sharing, and it is 9:15 a.m. and it's time for the morning announcements where the Joy Ambassadors are going to go and bring some jokes to the entire school. Automatically at 9:15, every Apple TV in the school can shift over to the morning announcements and begin playing them. without anybody having to configure any buttons or click anything or even exit an AirPlay session. So you can actually schedule it so that immediately AirPlay sessions are interrupted, and in full screen single app mode, Carousel is playing the morning announcements. It's really a powerful story if you think about any other solution and way of getting to scheduled events that happen within a school. There's a lot of clicking and switching, and you don't have to do any of those things. You even have the ability with AirPlay Interrupt if you decide to allow a session to relaunch with AirPlay. So a teacher can actually relaunch AirPlay sessions, and you can decide that as a school, which is a great flexibility that you have, because you may want to just say, boy, no matter what, you're going to have to watch this video, or this is so critical that everybody's going to need to see it. But you may also say, you know what, it's okay if there's the need to re-airplay over a session. Just know that we're gonna knock you out of AirPlay once, and then you can go back and join and re-airplay. So you've got lots of flexibility there, but it really is powerful. So again, just a few examples with AirPlay Interrupt. It allows you to make sure that everybody sees the same message. With AirPlay Interrupt and generally this concept of full screen alerts with Carousel, there's a couple of things that are very unique about it. You can reach students in classrooms, common areas through all the iPad devices that have Carousel on them. And so what you can do is actually decide what all subscribes to what we call a full screen alert, and each of those devices actually have multiple alert subscriptions. And so you could have the morning announcements as an alert type that actually is underneath a building emergency. So if you had a tornado drill or those types of things, that would override the morning announcements. So you could have the morning announcements playing as an alert, and then have a tornado drill or a fire drill override the morning announcement drill. And you can decide ahead of time, which is really important, because you're not going to decide in the moment exactly what the behaviors are, which screens they play on, and what things play on those screens. So there's just a lot of power through the AirPlay interrupt feature and the full screen alert feature coming together in the classroom. And so everybody has the same messaging, and that messaging can come from third-party systems, any CAP compliant system. So whether you're using Crisis Go or Alertus or Everbridge or whatever other tool, even some of the learning management systems also have triggers. So there's just a lot of powerful ways to leverage this technology. So again, I mentioned this idea that you could be giving a lesson. In the middle of your lesson, we could do AirPlay interrupt and take over that screen if we need to, in an emergency situation. One of the examples of an emergency situation would be the fire safety drill, as I mentioned. And one of the things that we're working on at Carousel is this. It's one thing to have fire safety drills and to have the tornado drills. We're actually working on developing content that really helps lessen the anxiety when it comes to fire drills and tornado drills and some of the other more dramatic and unfortunate types of drills that we have to run nowadays, like shelter in place. And so we're working with some counselors and some different organizations to really understand how we can lessen some of the anxiety that students experience, even coming up to a drill that might be out 2 weeks, for example. And so we're working on some different content libraries that we're going to provide um, as just a service to school districts to help educate students on what's to be expected during drills, meeting locations, all of those types of things. We're going to reach out to the I Love You Guys Foundation and Crisis Go and others, and really try to help put this story together around fire and life safety type things, active shooter scenarios, because those are scary, scary things for kids, and we don't want um, all that fear and anxiety to really interrupt the desire that these kids have for safety and a sense of belonging. And so as much as we can be part of really putting that story together and helping students know what to expect and how well they're being taken care of, and how all of the safety measures are being brought together around them, are coming into place, that's what we want to be part of. One of the other alert types that we like to talk about, because it's much more fun, is ice cream socials. And so you can imagine, hey, it's you know Friday and it's coming up, and we don't want anybody to miss out on the ice cream social. It's a community event, so let's splash the screen and make sure that all the kids know to invite mom and dad. This thing can even show up on the school's website and all those types of things. And so there's just lots of opportunities to use alerting and AirPlay interrupt in a way that's very exciting. And so with that, I kind of want to shift a little bit, in terms of why why we think that the classroom is so important. Obviously, we've given you lots of stories around just the idea that it's where students gather and spend really more of their dwell time than they would even in the hallway. And so you have more of a captive audience in the classroom. You have an opportunity to engage them, remind them about safety things, all of those valuable things in the classroom. And you also have common areas. Obviously, you have the cafeteria. And so when you think about it, what we're really saying is it's really important to have your communication be campus wide. So as we kind of reflect on JJ's founder story a little while ago, we talked about kind of building for schools, and that was replacing big tube TVs, playing the lunch menu stuff out in hallways. And that's kind of where that's been stuck in our minds for over 20 years, is the idea that we put a few displays in a few common areas and somehow kids are going to catch this message. But what we really want to do is say, let's get this content that really does cut through the noise right in front of people where they gather the most often, and that is in the classroom. Let's reinforce it in the common areas. Let's reinforce it in the lunchroom. Let's get it on those iPads. We have express players that you can actually pull up Carousel right on an iPad and check out what's playing. And so there's just so many opportunities to reinforce that messaging. And if you look at all the research and data, it'll show you that Carousel, not just Carousel, but signage in general, is a very effective form of communication in a way that actually cuts through, and kids retain it much higher than social media and all of the other things, because there's so much distraction on a lot of those mediums. Here you have dedicated messages that say, this is what I need you to know. And so that is where we think it's really important that we see the same messaging reinforced in all types of places. Again, the classroom, common areas, hallways. Imagine, the school fundraiser, imagine the school dance, all of those things where you had posters in hallways really being concisely communicated and available everywhere is really important to making sure that students actually saw the message and that they retained it. And ultimately, we hope that that means that as they see these messages, as we curate the right content for our students, that they do feel welcomed and they do feel informed, that they feel safe in their environment, that they feel like they belong, because it's really important. So again, I've talked about it. There is literally no other way to do what we're sharing here today, other than Jamf plus Carousel plus Apple TV. The power of these three organizations bringing their expertise together is really truly symbiotic. It's fascinating to just watch how how awesome it is when you can just decide what your deployment strategy is, light up 100, 500, 1,000, whatever you need to do very, very quickly. And all of a sudden, teachers, they don't really need to know what else to do other than, okay, I'm going to teach like I normally do and airplay like I normally do. And the morning announcements just happen. It's just amazing. And we know that it's ready in emergencies. That's pretty awesome too. And as far as the deployment story, this is, again, like no other, right? The ability with Jamf Pro or now with Jamf School, um, to be able to deploy lots and lots of devices. There is nothing else like it. If you are considering digital signage at all as a deployment of any scale, there is no deployment story like Jamf plus Carousel plus Apple TV. This idea of shrink wrap to signage is mind blowing. And so I love we kicked off a JNUC several years ago with somebody walking up and unwrapping an Apple TV and plugging that thing in, and in 2 minutes it's provisioned and all ready to go, and it's playing signage. That is phenomenal. And you've got that shrink wrap to signage story. You've got the fact that it is cost effective, and it really is cost effective. You start looking at any other type of media player, whether it is, all the famous competitors to an Apple TV, it is the most robust, it is the most reliable by far. It is the easiest to manage by far. The all-in cost of maintaining an Apple TV and an iPad in a classroom is phenomenal. Again, there's other awesome partners of Jamf that will speak to that story very accurately. But it is just such a great combination of technology between devices and software. And then again, third, I just want to remind you of this AirPlay interrupt feature. In the classroom, it is a powerful feature, whether it is the morning announcements or ice cream socials or other things that are more severe than that. The ability to inform people at a moment's notice of whatever's going on is really critically important. I wish it weren't, but it is. And so we really thank you for the opportunity to come and share with you today. And I want to leave you with this: offer students an education that delivers not only with grades and accolades, but by creating an environment that nurtures lifelong friendships, creates valuable experiences, and makes lasting memories. That really is the goal of carousel signage. And we love that we get to do that with Jamf and Apple. And yes, technology is a part of that, but it is so much more. It is all about these educators that get to interact with students every day face to face, because they're holding an iPad in their hand and they can see their students and they can get to know them, and they can see if they're struggling, if they're connecting with the content. And the students can see what's happening in the facility because they're being reminded throughout everywhere they look. Oh, yeah, that's right. There is the ice cream social this Friday. Oh, yeah, that's right. There is a test going on Thursday. All of those things hopefully will lead to creating environments that really do nurture lifelong friendships and create valuable experiences and make lasting memories. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome rest of your JNUC 22, and I hope you're making some memories there. Thank you very much.